Hello, everyone. I'm Tracy, and I'm here with Shane. And today we are going to present exclusive footage and images from the Franklin fire. Now, a couple of days ago, I went to the site and I was able to get video images, and I was also able to get a really amazing interview with someone who stayed behind and defended his property, was able to save the neighborhood that he lives in. So we're going to hear from him in a little bit. Before we get started, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe before you leave and like, comment, and share this video so we can let everyone know what really happened here. So I'm going to start out with some of the basics. And I did a video last week when the fire just was initially started. And this is what we have currently. So the red part is right inside the red part is the part that burned, and the white parts did not burn. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, so the white parts didn't burn, the red parts did burn, and the pink areas are where it overlaps with the city limits. So there was
Okay.
some of the city, like just barely inside the city. So it looked like it only burned up to the city limits.
Okay. And something interesting about this one is the majority of the burns happened in the canyons and the non-residential areas and non-business areas. So like Malibu Canyon is completely burned, and we weren't even able to take that road in. And we'll see soon like how a lot of the trees and shrubs burned around the homes, but a lot of homes were saved. And I'm going to play Into Thin Air. He discusses the Santa Ana winds that were said to be affecting this area. Although the day that this fire started, it didn't really seem, at least in LA, it didn't seem very windy. And then when you see the video, it also doesn't seem terribly windy. But I'll let you all see that for yourself. So this is Into Thin Air.
Welcome back. This is going to blow your mind. Once again, we are looking at Area 51. As these fires are going on in Southern California, they are laying something over Area 51. It's then being shot by the NexRad radar system. You can see that clear as day right here. It is then expanding and being dropped right over Southern California. And then take a look at what happens to Area 51. This is totally insane. This is not normal, and this is not birds or bugs. I can promise you that. There is something very odd going on with the military or something that's taking place in Area 51 and then being dropped in the sky, which is then carried over by the jet stream or some sort of wind pattern into Southern California. I talked about this yesterday when we predicted these wildfires based on a northwest anomaly that we saw, again from the NexRad radar system, which then led to insane wildfires in Ventura County. Now we are seeing more and more of this being dumped over Area 51 and then flows into Southern California. What is going on here? And then look at how the NexRad towers go absolutely berserk. There is no chance that this isn't related, my friends. This is now 2 days in a row we have captured this happening over Area 51 and flowing down into Southern California, exactly where these wildfires are. And I know a lot of people will give us a hard time for talking about this, but how can you not? This is not a coincidence whatsoever, and I'm going to continue digging into this to see exactly how long they continue this for. If you look close enough, you can find stuff like this every day on these satellite charts. All right, so one final time, let's dissect this. Right here, we have it dropped over Area 51, a perfect lineup with where the base is, and just like yesterday, as soon as it's laid out, we have the zap coming from the radar, the same one coming from Nevada right here. Then we have the expansion as it moves into Southern California. Just like yesterday, those radars start going off and crazy, and that's when this disco party begins in Nevada. Check this out. This is just unbelievable to see happening and then have no one point this out. Just as the cloud is getting over Southern California where all the wildfires are, we start seeing the NexRad towers from different states crisscrossing right over Area 51. Those are where our scalar beams are happening, and this is just insane to watch. You can see that cloud dissipating over Southern California and the Baja. We'll backtrack. You can see it come back, and it originates right over Area 51, my friends. I appreciate each and every one of you. Please share this video. This one will get attacked for sure, but it's time each and every one of us stand our ground and show people what we believe in.
All right. I also wanted to give a little background. So far, it's burned a little bit over 4,000 square acres. And this area was also on fire in 2018 with the Woolsey fire, which was much bigger. That one was about 18,000 square acres. Am I saying that right? Square acres? About
Yeah.
18,000 acres. I guess acres, so I don't have to say square acres. Okay.
Yeah.
And then here is Alec's interview. It was really interesting because he was on the news. So when I was doing research, I saw his interview and I was with my friend Stacy. We were stopping in Malibu to get a bite and we pulled into our parking spot and he was literally standing at the end of that parking spot and Stacy recognized him and he was very forthcoming and was very happy to provide an interview. So I'll let you hear what he has to say. Here in Malibu, and you are...
I'm Alec Gellis.
And he was fighting the Malibu fires, and we just happened to bump into him at the market or the mart in Malibu, which is such a weird coincidence. So, like, tell us any kind of like unusual things. And did you get a lot of smoke?
Yeah, my lungs are still kind of like messed up. But
so
we're
like,
good.
So what? Like, what exactly got you involved with the fire?
Yeah, I mean, the anomaly here is it's a miracle that more damage wasn't done. If you look at the mountains, everything around every house burned, and less than 10 homes burned in a fire, as far as I know. So, in our neighborhood, everybody thought they were going to lose their house, and yeah, the community came together. The firefighters came together. We really made it happen, and it's all about just, you know, knowing you can do something, making it happen, not being a victim, and staying and, you know, being able to support and save your house. I mean, some people will, if they lose their house, they're leaving Malibu, they're leaving all their stuff. They have big mortgages. It takes 10 years to rebuild. They'll never be able to have a house in Malibu again. So
right.
It's a big risk and a big gamble. All they have to do is stay home, water their house. Once the fire gets too dirty, just gets too crazy, just drive out.
Okay.
Just drive out.
Were you asked to evacuate?
There was an evacuation order, but you know, when you've been through a couple fires, you know you have to stay. So I was here for Woolsey, and we learned, you know, you're here with your garden hose, you're here with a fire pump, you have in your pool, you turn on your sprinklers, you save your house. You save one house, it saves the neighborhood because they go like dominoes. The embers spread so fast. So yeah, you got to super soak your house. If it's lush, you turn it into tropical rainforest. Get all the animals out.
So you just like fought it on your own? Were there firefighters next to you with the water, just working together?
In the beginning, I mean, the firefighters were up on the mountains in the beginning, kind of stopping the spread into the neighborhood, but it already spread into the neighborhood. So we got done with our house, got it under control, then moved into the neighbors' houses, got their fires out, and you know, you save one home, you save the rest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you see any firenadoes?
Yeah, there were some vortexes of fires, some firenadoes. There's this farm in the back of the community that we live in, and it was a full vortex out there. There were firenadoes. I was hearing crazy stories out there.
Like how high?
Like 30, 40, 50
30,
feet high.
40,
Like,
50 feet.
They said it looked like a scene out of hell. Like the smoke was so thick.
What color was the smoke?
The smoke was like gray black.
Grayish black.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that means like fuel, right?
Yeah.
Fuel was burned, or
Yeah.
like rubber is burned, because
Yeah.
brush makes white smoke.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, and these railroad ties, they're soaked in kerosene, they're soaked in oil. Once they catch on fire, they don't go out. So I was trying to put one of those out that was on a fence for a tennis court. I was breathing in all those fumes.
And you just
That
couldn't
was
put it out.
nasty. That's what messed my lungs up. So, but we got that out. Yeah, and then that same house, they had an herb garden that was also on fire. I got that out, but the smoke from that was like much less harsh.
Yeah.
That was actually kind of nice to inhale.
All right. So that was really interesting. He said that there were vortexes of fire. And then I have one more clip of him giving some more information. And he provided a lot of good footage of him putting the fire out and what he saw as far as the next day. So we'll be showing you that soon. And here's his second clip. Did you hear explosions, booms
Yeah.
a lot? Like every few seconds or like once every 10 minutes?
There's like, there's a lot of crackling and like stuff falling, like tree branches falling through windows. Like a palm tree branch fell through the door of my friend's sauna. The fire was right up on this airstream that we have with like propane tanks, and the fire was up against the propane tanks. We were trying to get the propane tanks off because that would have been scary.
Yeah.
But they didn't burst.
They didn't burst.
They're meant to not.
Yeah.
They're built to not. Like something about it. But you heard other things popping and
Did
blasting.
you hear like big boom explosions, like boom, boom?
Not
None
really.
of that. Okay, just
Not
checking.
really. Okay. So, and also in the footage, I didn't hear really any explosions. And I think we'll go to, you want to show, okay, I'll show this one. This was in the first video, but Shane, do you want to give a little background on this?
Okay, so there's a few suspicious things in this photo. One thing that stuck out to me was the edges are burning very evenly, but it's a very like thin layer of flame. You can almost call it a plasma. And then if you look up at what's possibly a power line up there, it looks like small sections of power line are actually on fire. And the power lines are made of metal, and where they're mounted to the poles, there's also metal there too. So that could be because it's in proximity to the metal, but it also contains metal as well.
Okay, and then here's a car on fire that was lost.
And
then,
it looks,
oh, sorry.
I was going to say, it looks like there's no fuel around the car. It looks like maybe it's on concrete or something. And so, this violent of a fire shouldn't be happening with a car that's made of mostly metal. And if it burned from the outside in, the interior is not going to be accelerating the outside of the fire. So just you can see the door. It looks like it's a lot of fire, but it's a metal door.
All right, now I'm going to jump to the sheriff's car that we saw really unusual damage because the hood is gone and the engine is kind of like dropped. So the engine and hood were affected, but the rest of the car seems undamaged. So that is something we see in other unusual fires. And then just because we're talking about cars, here's one that Alec got. Looks like maybe a Mini Cooper, and we see those classic, the glass gone, possibly melted, and it's hard to tell with metal, but I know Alec did say, I think maybe off camera, that there was a lot of melted metal that he observed. And then let me just get through all of these still photos. And here is another, this is not normal. I'll let Shane explain a little bit what's weird about this one.
All right, so this photo was actually sent to me by Robert the arborist, and he said that it's just glowing a little too brilliantly with no flames. Like you don't really see any combustive flames coming off of it, but it's glowing so brilliantly. He said that's actually an anomaly, and I thought so too. We've seen that in other places, but we've seen it once again in Malibu.
Okay, and then here is kind of unusual burn patterns with the palm trees. Usually a fire will kind of start at the bottom or at the top and kind of work its way to the other end. And also the palm fronds tend to be really dry, but it seems like the trunk was affected a lot more. And then you see these little like fires at the bottom. It's hard to know exactly what those are, but I thought this was a really interesting picture because this is opposite of what we've been observing. We normally see the structure destroyed and the trees okay, but kind of the opposite happened here.
Right, and it started in the middle.
Oh, sorry.
It started in the middle and moved towards the top, but then when it reached the top, it didn't actually catch the leaves. The leaves should have been the first thing, and that's all.
I think I lost him. All right, and then here is a sign. Sorry, Shane, I lost you for a second. I don't know if...
Maybe not. I don't know. As far as I know, I was still connected.
Oh,
So
sorry.
this metal sign, so this is a metal sign on two wooden posts, and you can see that the wood is mostly burned within an inch or so proximity of the metal sign and the little nails that hold the sign on there.
Okay. Here's another aftermath photo.
This was also sent to me by Robert, the arborist, as well as the sign previously. So this is something he sent because this is like something we've been seeing lately, although it's not completely natural. So like, yes, you'll have like burning of the boards and things like that, but all that's remaining is the brick structures. If there was, wood involved in this fire, there should at least be some boards or ends of boards that are left over. However, it looks like it's all ash.
Right. And in a normal fire, you'll also see a lot of metal left and like appliances that are damaged but not gone. Okay. And then so this is kind of a newer phenomena, and we don't know how to explain it, but the palm trees, some of them were burning just at the section where the fronds hit the base, and they're like sparklers, which is different from what I've been seeing. And I don't.
Yeah, it almost.
Do we know?
It almost looks like an electrical fire or a fire or a transformer. It looks like sparking, like there's some sort of it's being energized.
Right. And here's the palm trees.
And again, this is the very same spot at the top of the palm trees where the fronds meet the trunk, but the palm leaves themselves didn't actually catch fire. And you can see there's no actual flames coming off of it. It just looks like a big ember. And then that one is sparking. Sparkler. Yeah.
And then here's him putting out the fire. Look at the top where the palm fronds start.
Yeah, you see that just burst out of nowhere, and the smoke is going straight up, so there's no wind, and you didn't see an ember blow in and land on there, nor could it have blown that far with no wind.
Right. And then here's one that I got from when I was there. And a lot of what I saw looked fairly normal. I didn't see a lot of signatures initially, except here the burn patterns are a little strange in that the fronds are not burned as much, and the trunks have like burn patterns in different patterns. Some are at the top, some are in the middle.
The leaves are dried out, but they weren't burned.
Yeah. And here's one of this is behind a city hall. And these structures around here were not burned as far as what I could see, but like the shrubs and the grass and the ground was blackened.
The shrubs are barely touched, though. The grass is blackened, but the shrubs still have leaves on them. And according to Robert, the arborist, the leaves on these shrubs should have also burned.
All right, and then I'm going to play some of the structures that we saw. And this is the day after, I believe.
Off to the left, you see that structure, and the framing is bent. I can't tell if it's aluminum or wood or steel or what it is. So it's hard to tell with this one.
All right, and then here's one of the canyons. So Malibu is made up of many canyons, very steep, deep canyons. And this one, Malibu Canyon Road, was completely burned. I believe that's what we're looking at right here.
And it does look like it struck the lower lying areas.
And this is something we see in other fires. The gulch or the canyons are affected, like more so than other parts. We saw that in Camarillo. We saw this in Maui because Kula burned in the gulch. That's where the fire kind of started. And we think that's a melted glass.
It's just broken. Actually, I looked at it up close. It's just broken.
It's broken. Okay.
Yeah. Another thing that Robert has mentioned is that a lot of creeks and streams, they will be burned in the low-lying areas near the water. And the most water-loving trees along the banks will also be burned from the inside.
And that's what I noticed too. There were a lot of like little like ravines, and those areas were often burned, but it did have like a blackened appearance. Is there any videos I missed? Oh yeah, this one I wanted to. This is something I observed. And is there audio? No.
No, not on this one. I took it off.
Okay, so this is like a planter tree that's under a metal grate, and it looked like this burned, but the top of the tree is still there. But the base of the tree, it looked like the fire came from the base of the tree, and the metal, see, is all blackened like that. And this made me think of a video that Jeff Schneider posted recently. And I'll put the link to that down below so that you guys go to Jeff's channel, because he has a lot of good evidence. And this is just a still from a fire in Cleveland, Ohio. I'm pretty sure it's Cleveland. But this was the planters, and it was sparking like a sparkler. There were many. And then if you want to see the video, go to the link that we'll leave in the description. But this just looked like what might have happened with this right here. But not all of them looked like this. There were other planter trees that were normal. This one just happened to be affected.
And the metal does look a little bit rusted. It's hard to say whether it was like that before or whether it happened during the fire.
Yeah. I mean, chances are, this is a nice, this is a nice area. It's usually very well maintained. I think a lot of us understand that. So my assumption is that it wasn't blackened and burned before. But then again, there was a serious fire in 2018, so I can't be sure. Was there anything else that I wanted to show, or you wanted to show?
I think that covers it. I think we got all the images and all the videos. And I just wanted to point out that one of the more important things that Alex said, he said, if you've been through a fire before, you know that you have to stay. You have to stay and defend your property, because if you leave and your property's damaged, there might not be any rebuild. You might have to wait so long to rebuild that you're paying your mortgage so long that, you're going to go broke just waiting.
Yeah. I mean, it is a risk, and the fire chief will always say to evacuate. I think that he has to say that, but it's not a law that you have to leave. You can stay with your property till the end. And so I wanted to kind of wrap up my conclusion on this one. Every fire is different, and this one is also very different from any of the other ones that I've observed or analyzed. And it kind of seems like, yes, there's evidence of some sort of technology that was used to direct and start these fires, but it was almost like it was very sparingly used. So a lot of the burn areas look like normal fire burns, but we do see some of those signatures, like with the cars and the metal and the signs. And I'll just put this up really quick. Malibu is a pretty big area, and their houses are spread apart. They're not like a tightly packed neighborhoods. So I don't know. I can't really figure out, what was the purpose of this. And I guess only time will tell. But Malibu is very prone to fires. They've been happening since the 60s. And I think it might have something to do with the topography, the way the land is. And it is a very dry area. Also, it is a very valuable area. But it seems like the properties that were lost would probably stay in the hands of the property owner, because they're probably well insured and will either get paid out well or rebuild. A little different from Lahaina, where some of the properties probably weren't valuable enough to rebuild, or it might not have been worth it for them to rebuild, and it would have made sense to sell the land off into the state. Shane, did you have any other ideas of kind of what's behind this one?
Well, so one of our researchers in Australia pointed out that a lot of these fires do happen in the wildland urban interface. And these are the areas around the cities that they do want to rewild and return to nature. They want humans to move out of the country and into the city. And so by having a lot of fires in the wildland urban interface, it discourages people from living there and moving more into the urban areas.
So you think maybe trying to get people to permanently move out of Malibu altogether and into like
E-
LA or another city?
Either move closer to downtown or move into the bigger cities. Yeah.
Because Malibu is kind of already, there is a lot of wildlife parks and like areas where you cannot build either because it's protected land or the it's just too steep. The canyons are too steep to develop. So that is kind of hard to understand for me is why would they burn these canyons that are not, you can't build houses or businesses on. So, the purpose of my channel is not to convince you all of one idea. It's more to give the information out in an unbiased way. And you guys could kind of figure out or have your own opinions on what is behind this particular fire. Something else that I noticed is when I was driving up PCH, there are a lot of these old businesses that have been there for a long time on the like, especially on the inner part, like the eastern side of PCH, like old motels that you would think if they were trying to destroy property, those would have been targeted, but a lot of them were still standing. And
Yeah. The other anomaly that Alec pointed out was that so few houses were actually burned. Like I think 40, according to Fox 11. So you could have expected a lot more than that, but somehow so many houses were spared, and to us that's an anomaly in
right.
and of itself.
But also there was a lot of support. There were a lot of firefighters, a lot of water and retardant dropped. There was a very big effort to preserve this area, especially the properties, because obviously they're very valuable. But no one, from what I've heard, no one was killed and no one was injured. So that's a really good thing. Also, as of today, Wednesday, the 18th, there is another red flag warning for this area. So they're kind of possibly gearing up for another fire, but I can't be sure. But we will keep you all posted if something else comes about. And yeah, I think that's going to do it. So thank you all for being here, and we will see you all soon. Bye.